So the SB66, this thing's a lot of fun. So I mentioned in the GoPro video that this front end is super low. So what I'm talking about is in relation to where the pedals are. So when I'm descending, instead of feeling like I'm, how can I describe it? Instead of feeling like I'm here, ready to descend and ready to charge and take things, I'm here. Yeah, that's an exaggeration, but too much of my weight is forward and leaning on the bars because of how low it is at the front. I can't sit into the back end. So when it gets steep, you're putting too much weight over the front, so it's really hard to change directions when things go wrong, because generally when things go wrong, you're changing direction with your legs. You're going like this, whoa, pulling it up, or pulling it up that way. So that made for a sketchy, just a sketchy feeling. No real sketchy moments. I wasn't going that hard, but definitely made for sketchy feeling, and not allowing me to really let go on it. So apart from that low front end, that's just a simple setup issue. The bike itself, so it's just got a standard float CTD shock, which are, you know, they're okay. They're not awesome, but I never had any problems bottoming it out or blowing through the travel. It felt nice. The front tyre with the 2.8 Minion feels really good. It makes up for having a smaller wheel, which, you know, that's what we were all riding not long ago. It's supple, it's heaps and heaps of grip, and 2.8, it really doesn't seem that big. It doesn't seem like the new 2.8s on the 27.5s and whatnot. It looks like a 2.6 to me. It's not that much bigger than my 2.5 DHF, so it's not overkill on that. The forks felt quite good. They get a little bit choppy and a little bit overwhelmed. The rear shock gets a little bit choppy and a little bit overwhelmed, but that's, yeah, it's not. It doesn't make it harder to handle. It's just you're getting more feedback. But the efficiency this thing's got is excellent. It carries a lot of speed. Everything that you pump, it gives it straight back to you. It gives it straight back to you. Even though it feels like it's supple, it just gives you what you want. So, you know, you're coming out of a corner, give it a little pop, just try and get that little bit of extra free speed, or you see a bit of a backside, give it a little bit of extra free speed. A lot of bikes, you kind of sacrifice that efficiency to get the good feeling rear end. This kind of has a little bit of both, kind of best of both worlds. On the chattery stuff, it's really, really smooth. On the, you know, mid to deeper hits, it's a little bit rougher. If I was to keep this bike, the first thing I'd do without hesitation is get one of the Vorsprung corsets for the, it's basically just a air can upgrade. So it increases the negative chamber and changes the ratio between the positive and negative chamber, gives you more support, smoother stroke through the suspension. So and it's only $100 or $110 or something. So that'd be the first thing I'd do. I'd pull that apart, give it a service, and change it over to the Vorsprung corset. That'll make the back end of this bike feel absolutely magical. Shorter cranks, straight away I'd put shorter. These are 175s. The gears, I'd leave it exactly how it is, or maybe just get a bigger ratio rear cassette, because this XTR works absolutely flawlessly. When you change it, you know exactly when it's going to go into the next cog, and it's exactly the same all the way through, from the first, second, third, fourth. As soon as you hit it, it changes. As soon as you hit it, it changes. So you can time it perfectly with your power. You don't have to get off the power for as long. With the GX stuff, you know, all the Eagle stuff, you're getting off the power ever so slightly longer. It's still quite reliable. You can time it 9 times out of 10, whereas, yeah, it's almost always going to be perfect. It takes a little bit longer to get into gear. This is really fast getting into the next gear, and the same coming back up. There's no fuss. It's almost like there's more gates on every gear. So maybe if out of the whole thing, let's just say hypothetically, Eagle's got 8 gates, this thing's got 12. So it drops sooner, it comes back up sooner. Feels really good. Obviously you'd go a bigger dish on the back to help climbing, but this thing isn't really set up for climbing. It'll do the job. I was going to do it, but I didn't bother. I was going to slide the seat forward a little bit more, just so I could have a little bit better position climbing up the hill, but I had shuttles, so it didn't really matter too much. Sprinting around on the street, efficient, playful, same story. The front end's just a little bit too low for it's a poor position. It puts you in a poor riding position. So when you're popping and hopping, it almost feels like you're gonna, if you do it too much, if you do it when you're tired, you're gonna pull your back out because so much of your weight's over the front. You've got to put so much effort to bring it back. So a higher front end, 100%. The brakes are excellent, the power's killer, and the modulation's really good. People say, oh, Saints don't have any modulation, and blah, blah, blah. These are the XTR levers with Saint calipers. They don't feel like they have any modulation when you come straight off them from a guide or whatever. But you give it a couple of runs where you're using the brakes heavily, and you adapt like that, and all of a sudden you appreciate how good these brakes are. So very, very little effort with the fingers. The only thing I don't like is I haven't played with it too much, I'd like to dial in the free stroke, especially on the rear brake, because that lever is, it's really far out. So when you're charging, this finger was kind of slipping off it every now and then, which I didn't like. I definitely didn't enjoy that. So something to adapt to, or not adapt to, but adjust. Rev grips, he likes these rev grips. They actually pivot a little bit. So they spin a little bit underneath your hand, which is that's what they're designed to do. They're okay. They stick out further than I'd like. I don't like, so if you have a look at it, you've got grip, and then you've got another, it's probably 8mm, 7 or 8mm either side for that second lock on. Not really into that. It's more to clip, but I guess it's, yeah, I don't really like it. I'd rather have a lock on the middle, on the inside, and just grip to the edge of the bar. And if you are going to have a lock on, just make it minimal on the end there. So, but the grip itself was really good. It's excellent grip, really excellent grip. Cushion, they felt relatively cushioned, not heaps of cushion, but relatively good. So rev grips, they were alright. The only downside, like I said, is having that much grip hanging out. So it's just a tree catcher, and it brings you in narrower than you need to be on your bars. So you're taking up space without actually being able to use that space all the way. So yeah, 16mm if you add both sides up, if it's 8mm. Pedals. So Race Face Atlas pedals. Wasn't too sure at the start. He's run these for years. When he used to run them, I wasn't too sure about them, but I've only ever bounced around on them. But riding it, they're killer. There's absolutely no fuss. Your feet do not move. You feel secure. There's enough pedal. There's enough platform there without sticking out and getting in the way when you're riding off camber stuff or anything like that. So perfect amount of pedal underneath your foot. Excellent grip. And as far as I know, pretty reliable. He's been running these forever. So, rebuild kits are available. The only thing, again, that I don't like is, you probably can't see that, but it's a really thick, where that initial bearing is really thick, so you're not going to get it in one of our downhill crank trailers, which is a bummer. So that's something to think about. There's no room to get it in a crank. I don't think you get it in a crank trailer anyway. Might be worth a try, but I don't think so. So that's downfall with those pedals. Otherwise, excellent grip, excellent platform. They feel really, really comfortable and confident. So XTR shifter worked flawlessly, like I said. High Roller 2 on the back. I like the High Roller 2. I went through a stage where I was always running it on the front, and then I pulled out, went back to the DHF, which I really like. But on the back, I've got a double down High Roller 2 on my Patrol at the moment on the back, and I really like that as well. So they're not a bad tyre. They're an excellent tyre. 2.8 DHF. This thing, yeah, it's killer. It's not sluggish, doesn't wallow. The bike carries killer speed, and being a 26, it really makes up for that. You feel in the corners because I've been riding 29s and 27s, now back onto a 26. You definitely notice a difference in the contact patch on the ground. So when you come into a corner, this will start letting go sooner, but it doesn't just gone. It lets go, and you can drift it, and you kind of control it. Much to do with the size of the tyre, being that it's a 2.8, you've got more horizontal, I guess, left to right, you've got more tyre on the ground, and forward to back, I say it's a tiny bit more. It's still not the same as a 27.5, but it definitely gives me confidence. I didn't feel like, oh shit, I'm on small wheels, this is going to be sketchy. It felt killer. It's fast, it's super easy to accelerate on. It feels like it's in trail mode, but it's not. As soon as you start hitting the bumps, you know that it's open and it's doing its job properly. Especially the smooth chatter bumps. So all that chatter stuff, this thing carries heaps of speed over and it quietens it down. It's just those medium to harder hits where it gets a little bit overwhelmed, and I think putting the Vorsprung corset on it will more or less completely eliminate that. So overall, thanks Alex, this thing's a weapon. You're definitely right about it. It's fast and it will carry speed, but for sure either put a, I'm not too sure whether these are 150 or 160. I'm pretty sure they're 160. Let's have a look. Oh no, they're 150. So you've got them set up as 150. So I'd put a shaft in there, make it 160 to bring it up a little bit more, and that'll slacken the head angle out a bit. And then try and do something with this. So swap this over underneath, get as much height on the front there as you can, and all it's gonna do is increase your confidence, increase your grip at the front when you're cornering, without having to lean over the front to look for grip. So yeah, it's killer. 26 ain't dead.